Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your late morning, early afternoon time to come and talk about Welcoming America and specifically Welcoming Week, which will take place this September. Really excited. My name's Maddie Fisher. I'm one of the representatives from Southeast Minnesota Together, a regional grassroots group that is one of the sponsors on this program today. Super excited to have you all here. We're doing this work in conjunction with Southeast Minnesota League of Municipalities, SEMLM, as you'll see it notated there on the slide, and obviously Welcoming America, the national program. We're super excited to have some really great speakers today. I may be a little distracted as I keep an eye on the chat and letting people in, so my apologies about that. I guess I will just hop right in so that we can make sure to cover all of the awesome material today. This is a little bit of a breakdown of our agenda. We have both Jenny Diaz and Molly Hilligoss from Welcoming America on the line with us today, who will kind of talk us through some of their more general programming and then what Welcoming Week looks like. This entire program is following a 2-page guide about Welcoming Week that was developed by members of the Welcoming Inclusive Action Team at Southeast Minnesota Together, and then also with Molly and Jenny's help. So this is really something we wanted to be a tool for small towns, for folks who are really just looking to make their first steps into the space around welcoming people into their communities, whether it be people from down the street, people who maybe grew up in different parts of Minnesota and have relocated, or immigrants, just any type of folks in the community. So that guide is essentially what we'll be talking through today, and I'll be sending that out as a resource afterwards for you. We'll have a chance to hear from both Fatima Saeed with Project Fine in Winona, and then Jason Baskin, who is coming to us from Austin, Minnesota, to kind of hear a little bit more generally about the work that Fatima's organization has done over the years, as well as sort of the strategic planning that they've gone through in the city of Austin to make welcoming a priority for them. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over one more slide, hopefully. There we go. Lovely. So these are our speakers for today. Molly and Jenny will start us off by talking through the Welcoming America framework. We'll head over to hear a little bit more about the strategic planning piece from Jason, and then Fatima will close us out with some stories from Winona, and there will be some time for questions. So if you have any, feel free to put them in the chat and I can keep an eye on that. Otherwise, be happy to make sure I kind of swing back to that at the end before we close out. All right, Jenny and Molly, I'll let you folks take it away.
Great. Well, I'm going to go ahead first. Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny. I'm the Welcoming Communities Coordinator for Welcoming America. I help with several different programs that we run, and mostly, though, I do membership stuff. So if you would like to become a member, or if you are a member, I help you get onboarded. I help you get connected to all of the programs and technical assistance that we offer. So Welcoming America inspires to build a different kind of community, one that embraces immigrants and fosters opportunity for all. We're leading a movement of inclusive communities across the nation so that we can all be more prosperous by making everyone who lives there feel like they belong. We like to also note that we try to make communities inclusive for everyone. So if you are not an immigrant or a refugee, our work also focuses on you as well. We just want your whole community to prosper with us. Good, great. What we do is connect, build, and change, which are kind of like the 3 buckets that we like to focus on. The idea for Welcoming America is about the power of local communities to change the narrative and make everyone who lives in their community feel like they belong. Obviously, at times when we hear about immigration or refugees or inclusive work, it's on the federal level and it can be hard to grasp or not feel like we can connect. So we really like to focus with smaller organizations, smaller governments, and really just connect everyone in a broad network of nonprofits, local governments. And we like to do that by building just developing plans and programs that help everyone connect with one another. We want your communities to be vibrant, to be a place where everyone respects one another, where everyone can feel like they prosper and are valued. Obviously, belonging is kind of a word that we use and throw around, and it can be different for everyone, and we just want to be respectful of that. So we really take our guidance on the work that you're doing, and we just offer extra support, extra research, extra technical assistance for all of you. We partner with more than 180 communities across the US, and we also work internationally as well. Our welcoming network encompasses places like Atlanta, Georgia, which is actually where Welcoming America is based, Anchorage, Alaska, Austin, Minnesota. Molly is currently in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I'm in Wichita, Kansas. So we're kind of all over the place. And we really just want to support communities that are becoming more inclusive towards immigrants and all residents, because we really do believe that that will lead to prosperity for all of us. And obviously, there's never been a more important time to talk to our communities about what it means to truly be a welcoming place. Welcoming is more than tolerance. It's about developing a true respect and appreciation for our neighbors, and creating policies and programs that support inclusion and make sure that everyone, newcomer or longtime resident, feels like they belong. Welcoming communities have economic and social benefits as well. Our opportunity is to make our community intentions become community actions, and planning one or more of the following activities during Welcoming Week or anytime during the year is a great place to start. So like Maddie said, we'll be covering some Welcoming Week events. And with that, I will kick it off to my colleague, Molly.
Thank you, Jenny. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Molly, and coming to you from just over the river in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So happy to be here with my neighbors. As Jenny mentioned, Welcoming America has a host of programs, but one of the things that we really love to highlight and focus on, and a great way to jump into this work, is by participating in Welcoming Week. And as you see right there, Welcoming Week is a yearly event. It actually is more like a stretch of a week, about 10 days. So you can get lots and lots of activities happening in your community. But really, the goal ultimately of Welcoming Week is to bring organizations and communities together, immigrants, longtime residents, folks who are visiting your community, everyone in your community, to come together to build strong connections and affirm welcoming, inclusive practices where everyone can feel like they belong, as Jenny said. And I think our focus on that is to really help communities think about the kinds of events that are going to be fun for everyone in their community, and they have a bunch of different and there's a bunch of different options in that. And I think what we're going to talk about running through is just a couple of those different options and ways for you to kind of jump off and get started. And so I know that since we are with the folks from the League of Municipalities, one of the things that we wanted to start off with, and you can just pop to the next slide, Maddie, is a more sort of formal activity that you as a community government or your city council or mayor can do to start off and participate in Welcoming Week. And that's simply pass a proclamation declaring Welcoming Week a thing in your community, right? And there are lots of examples out there how to do that. I think one of the things that we encourage folks to do is just think about, like, what are the values of your community and how do you want to express that publicly? And I think this is a great way to do this, and a great way to garner support in the systemic structures of government for your work around inclusion and equity, greater belonging. Another way that you can kind of jump into this work in your community, if you are part of a coalition of folks who are doing, resident recruitment or social services or any kind of collaborative in your community, is to really jump in and join us in an I Am a Welcomer photo campaign. And this is just a really easy way for you to, again, share the values of your community with your friends and kind of get together and do those pieces. And you can put them on social media, you can put them around your community. You can hang them in the store windows in your town. One of the things that folks did last year was go out and stand by the town sign for their community and share their welcoming sign that way. And we have these signs in I think like 20 or so different languages on our website, and so you can find them there, and Maddie will share those sources with you all later. So I think really what I want to say about these couple of things is that you can do Welcoming Week in your community without it being a huge lift. Like, it can be just a thing that you can do with a small amount of time and still make a large impact. Some of the other events, and I'm going to talk specifically about Minnesota right now, and especially Southern Minnesota, because they are very much a leader in this space, especially in our small community cohorts. And I forgot to mention that proclamation is from St. Charles, so St. Charles, Minnesota. So I'm so sorry for not mentioning that. One of my absolute favorite Welcoming Week activities comes from Sumner Elementary School in Austin, Minnesota. And one of the things that they have done, and we're still able to do in 2020, which is fantastic, was have their flag parade or their flag walk. And this is just such an opportunity for the children at the school to come together, to think about their countries of origin, whether that be from another country or from our country, or as a First Nation or Native person. There's just a really great way to celebrate all that we can bring. And so they do some lesson planning around that. Kids make their own signs, and it's just really wonderful. And folks come from all over the community to watch it too. That's the other piece, right? Like, it's not just the kids get to come outside. They get to know that all the folks in the community are there supporting them. There's a great Facebook video of that I think we have in the one, or in the 2-pager that we'll be sharing out to you, so you can see more about that. Another thing that's happened in Austin for several years, before I turn it over to Jason, is some community service projects that bring folks together to tackle a common issue in their community. And I think this is one way to really bring Welcoming Week to the kinds of events that you're already doing in your community, and a way to bring the differing organizations that serve differing groups of people together to work for a common goal. So for instance, with this particular event, they were doing some park and river cleanup work, and they had brought the folks who typically care about the watershed community group. I'm forgetting the exact name of it right now. I'm sure Jason can correct me. And then in the Rotary Club, and then as well as the Welcome Center, which is an organization that typically serves newcomers and immigrants in the community. And so they were able to come together and work towards a common goal together. And we know actually from research that bringing folks together from different backgrounds to work on a common goal is one of the best ways to form connections and build bridges in our communities. So I think coming out of these kinds of projects can really form lasting relationships and friendships in our community. So again, I think I will stop there just by saying there's lots of ways to integrate and include Welcoming Week events and things that you're already doing in your community. And now I'm going to pass it over to Jason to talk just a little bit more specifically about some of the broader work around welcoming that they've done. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think Molly does a really nice job of highlighting a couple of examples in Austin, and there's great examples from all over southeastern Minnesota. And I think the one big takeaway that I would have is it doesn't really matter what you do. You figure out what works for your community, and start small. We've kind of built this up over the last 5 or 6 years, but it started with a couple of things, and I think we tried to reinvent the wheel the first couple of years. And what we kind of realized is, there's 3 or 4 events that we do every year, like the flag walk, that seem to work really well. And then it's, whatever people have energy for that particular year, you can either, add to or subtract. And so, it doesn't have to be an overwhelming project that, requires massive committees of people and things like that. And so it really, it kind of takes on some momentum, and, it's another great way to kind of bring the community together. And so specifically around planning, one of the big things that Austin has done that's worked really, really well for us that has ended up actually being nationally recognized is we put together a strategic welcoming plan. And, so our background is, Austin, for those of you who aren't familiar with our story, we've rapidly diversified over the last 30 years. So, when I grew up in Austin in the early 1990s, we were 2% ethnically diverse. We are, anywhere from 30 to 35% ethnically diverse. The majority of the kids that graduate from our schools now are diverse. And so I think about like my kids grow up and diversity is just, second nature to them. Whereas it was very much not that way for a long time. And so, we joined Welcome America in, I think, 2015 or 2016. And, at that point, it was like, yeah, this seems to make sense for our community. There's a lot of good stuff that's going on. The city council passed a resolution unanimously saying, yep, we're going to declare ourselves as a welcoming community. And at that point, I was chairing our Human Rights Commission. And so we sat down with Molly and we sat down with a couple of people and we said, Trish Wakeman is on here from the city, who is a great liaison as well. And we kind of said, all right, like, it's great to have a resolution that says we're a welcoming community. Like, how do we make it more than like a piece of paper? Like, how do we do something with it? And so what we decided to do as a Human Rights Commission is to actually put together this plan. So we went out into the community. We spent probably 5-6 months interviewing all kinds of folks from across the community, people who had been here 6 months, people that had been here 60 years, and tried to get their perspective on what the barriers were to building a more welcoming community in Austin, as well as what was working well. And so we asked everybody 3 really simple questions. One is, what's working? Number 2 is, what's not working? And number 3 is, if you were mayor for a day, what changes would you make? And so we took all that information, we kind of synthesized it down into 4 or 5 key barriers that seemed to be things that we needed to work on to really bring us into being a truly welcoming community. And so then we got the group back together and said, great, we've got those barriers. This is good, but we've got limited bandwidth. I don't know that we're going to be able to solve all 5 of these tomorrow. And we don't want to feel like we're, losing momentum on this. And so we brought together a bunch of stakeholders. We brought together community members and the schools and local employers and the city and a number of other groups, and kind of sat down and said, all right, what are the most important ones to tackle? And so we identified that there were 2 really, really important ones that we wanted to go after. One was, how do we empower multicultural leaders and better connect them to kind of existing power structures? Because what we were finding is there are phenomenal multicultural leaders, but not all of them necessarily knew how to get things done in Austin. And so we wanted to make sure that we connected them to local government, to local resources, and frankly, so we could learn from them. And then the second piece was around, how do we build connections? Because a huge barrier that we identified was you've got a lot of diversity, but we had all these silos, even within communities. You would have like the Anahuac community and the Dinka community weren't really interacting because some of the challenges, back in their homeland. And so we kind of decided that, all right, let's tackle these 2 things and come up with some ideas for how we do that. And so the first way that we tackle kind of how do we connect people better to existing power structures is, we started doing a better job just as a community and a government trying to go out and connect with those local leaders. So you realize that not everybody's going to come down to City Hall to watch a meeting. Frankly, almost nobody comes down to City Hall to watch a meeting, whether you're ethnically diverse or not. And so it's like, how do we get out into the community and be talking to these groups and meeting them where they are? And then the second thing that we did is we created an honorary city council member program where we have, I think it's a 3-month rotating position that the person is appointed by the mayor and approved by the council. And it can be anybody in the community, but the goal is to probably have a more diverse person on there. And it becomes a 2-way street, which is really, really great because they get all the packet information that the council gets. They sit through all the council meetings and the discussions. They have an opportunity to participate in the meetings, and it works really, really well because they hear what's going on and build relationships. They'll go tour the different departments and they walk away with a great relationship with the fire chief and the police chief and the public works director. So when they have folks in their, circle of friends who ask them questions. They're like, oh, okay, no, I know how to answer that question and get you in connection. And then frankly, for us as a city council, it's a great learning experience because, we may talk about an issue and then you turn it over to the honorary council member and go, Karim, what do you think? Hervé, what do you think? And they're going to come at it from a totally different perspective than most of the folks that are on the council. And so it really helps us to make better overall choices. And really our biggest success story is Obala, who's actually got elected. He was an honorary council member, actually got elected in his own right to the council, to be our first African council member last fall. And so it's worked really, really well to take people who are already awesome leaders and do a better job of connecting with them. And then in terms of building up those connections, what we've really focused on is how do you create events that can be universally beneficial? And so what we've identified is there's kind of three things that everybody connects to regardless of what language you speak: kids, sports, and food. And so, we've been fortunate from a sports perspective that we've got a really, really good high school boys basketball team. And what's great is I can tell you it's a lot more diverse today than it was, 25 years ago when I was playing. Probably not inconsequentially, they are much better today than they were back in the day when I was playing. But it's great because you get, you can have the 75-year-old farmer that's in there and cheering for this highly diverse, sports team and going, those are our boys. We're so proud of them. And so that's been really, really powerful. And then it's also helped us to be able to, do things like the Taste of Nations, where we bring everybody together in non-COVID times. And we've kind of made it work through COVID as well. But hey, at the ice arena, on the Saturday of April, everybody bring a dish from your own kind of ethnic background. And so you'll have everybody from, folks that are recent Karenni and Karen refugees and bringing what, they're familiar with. And you've got, the Swedish ladies making lefse and bringing that from the Lutheran church basement. And so it's a really great opportunity because even if you're not great at speaking the language, you've got an opportunity to really connect over food and build those connections with people. And then, obviously kids, there's just kind of that natural, as you get to know other parents, in a highly diverse school that starts to connect. And so, we're certainly not perfect as a community. We still have a lot of work to do, but, kind of coming up with that plan of, all right, we want to be welcoming, but how do we think longer term about what our goals are and how we get, what are the actions that are going to be necessary over the next few years to get us there, I think has moved us forward really well. And frankly, what we appreciated about Welcoming America is they allowed us to steal a lot of ideas, which was great. It's like we could kind of come up with our own plan, but I would be lying to you if I told you most of our ideas were original. It was more, okay, what has everybody else done around the country? And let's then figure out, what seems to work best for our community. And so, we've had no problem stealing outright from, other communities around the country because, hey, if somebody else has something that works, imitation is the best form of flattery. So.
Awesome. That was so great. Thank you so much, Jason. Fatima, I want to hand it over to you to chat a little bit more about Project Fine's work in the space.
Absolutely happy to do. And it's hard to go after Jason. You're doing an amazing job of it, and I'm so proud of all of you. But as you can see from what Jason was saying, that no one can do this job alone. So, working with others helps, working with community members helps, but I'm Fatima Said from Project Fine in Winona. We have been involved with Welcoming America for last 10 years and learn a lot from them. They have been a great resource for us, and that's actually how we started Welcoming in Winona. Of course, we started very small in 2011 with simple celebration of our citizenship, working with refugees and immigrants. Our mission is actually exclusively focused on providing information and resources to refugees and immigrants and building stronger community for all of us. So it was a natural thing for us to start small, to start with something that we can do in our house and then build on all that. We started with that citizenship celebration, inviting our naturalized citizens, new and long-time naturalized citizens, and our elected leadership, our community leaders that wanted to come and join us and celebrate. And then First couple of years we did that on the regular basis, and we started thinking what else we can do and who can be invited to the table to start. What is, welcoming? We wanted to create a place and community where everyone can bring their full cultural self and engage with others. So to do that, you need everybody around the table. We started inviting our community leaders and brainstorming what can we do. We were very fortunate and blessed that we at that time, as well as now, had a great city leadership that embraced that idea and joined Welcoming America. We were first one, and then Austin joined Welcoming America few months after us, but we were first Minnesota that joined Welcoming America and started seeing what else we can do, not just during the Welcoming Week, but kind of every day of our life. So we started building partnership and collaboration. Here we have few pictures from different events, but I want to say that really to work with others, we learn to, first of all to listen and observe, and then put action steps in place that kind of will invite people from all walk of life. We partner with private sector, ask them to join us in Welcoming Week, and then do simple things like open house for workers during the lunch break, and then giving them maybe 1 hour pay time to join the welcoming activities. We did that with several businesses. We did some coffee time with university and government agencies. We did film screening. In the past, we did community events where we invited the city of Winona and other partners like Art Museum and some other nonprofits, providing different children activities, dancing, music, food, all this that Justin was saying, finding the things that we all enjoy and that can bring us together, including, of course, our welcoming table that is a very famous program and very well known, where we actually bring people together to come have a meal, share the stories, share my story, your story, and create our new story. So we do a lot of different things that we are very proud of this. But again, everything that you do need to have, I'm saying, a cheerleaders for welcoming, someone who will be willing to start with a simple things. Every business and every organization, every space have their own culture, right? So we can do little things in our space to recognize Welcoming Week, to recognize diversity in our businesses and organization, even naming a special employee or giving some awards, or just putting different music during that week, or simple things that you just start somewhere and then build on that. Of course, it's very important to invite community. Everything starts with leadership. You know, if you don't have leadership support, it's hard to get into businesses, educational institution, or government. So find a way to work with your community leaders and then build on that. I am happy to talk about all those events that we will be doing this year, but please visit Project Find Facebook in our website and see what we're planning for this event. I'm really excited. I just want to share, we have a new mayor that is a young mayor, first-time mayor, that actually is very open-minded and inclusive, and he want to do a bike ride around the town with a different cultural station where people will stop and learn about different culture, get some small token, and then meet together in the park for conversation and food and interaction and getting to know each other. We will be doing a lot of different things, but our citizenship celebration is something that we now do every year for last 10 years. And then other activities, including young participants of our program and schools and everybody else. But I'm gonna stop here and I'm gonna answer the questions, because like I said before we start, I'm afraid to start talking about this because I don't know how to stop. So I'm gonna stop right now, thanks.
That was perfect. Thank you so much, Fatima. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of fun things going on in the chat. So feel free to check out those links. You will see that Southeast Minnesota Together's e-newsletter is how we're going to send out all the information that we've been discussing today. But there was a really great question that came in that I want to make sure that we get to, but there was one more offering that I wanted to make sure we covered before we opened it up to a little bit more of a free flow question and answer. And that is our friends over at Diversity Council. One of our action team members, Savita, is going to speak a little bit to maybe if you're a little bit more interested in getting something longer term started in your community, these different offerings that Diversity Council has at this time. I'll make sure you can unmute. I'll let you take it away, Savita.
Okay. Thank you so much, Maddie. And my name is Savita Kataria. I am from the Diversity Council. My role is equity strategist over there. And as the speakers earlier, shared about all the good work that's happening, and I'm so excited to share about the two opportunities to have the conversations around making your communities more welcoming. And this is due to the grant opportunity we received from SMIF and working with SEMLM. So these are the two, one of them is gracious hosting, and this really focuses on developing cultural inclusivity. We all have experienced being a host and being a guest, in different cultures. So this specific conversation really focuses on what it means to be a gracious host. And it starts from there and, talks about what your policies, how do you practice it? How does it bring inclusivity by focusing on from that lens, from cultural lens of being a host and being a guest in any community. So this is a very good way to start the conversation, and people really take away a lot of things from it, and it really influences how even looking at simple things we take for granted in a community because we have been living there for so long. How does it look for people who come from outside, who are not a part of the community? So this really is a very good conversation that starts with this 90-minute workshop. And I'm going to go to the next slide. And this is another one that has been requested quite a bit, that we have been talking about in many different organizations and places. This is another thing about, we don't have a shared language and terminology. So if you really want to start the talk about race and racism, which is a big part of today's, a lot of people are coming with, I want to talk about it, but I don't know how to. So this is a very, very basic level conversation that starts with some unique, some common shared terminology, definitions, what it means. So a lot of people can have that understanding and be on the same page. And we also start with a lot of statistics about, how it looks like in different communities. And so people gain shared around language and definition about diversity, equity, race. But the focus is on, why is it important to you? Why would you like to talk about it? So that brings out a lot of conversations from the participants. And we then talk about barriers. We know it's important. Well, what is stopping you? What are you afraid of? What is not, what is coming in your way to have these conversations and have understanding? And then people leave with 3 practical techniques that they can apply. And this has been so well received because it takes away that, we have a common people where they're talking about it and they feel, I can do this. It's not as scary as it seems like. And then it gives you some ways to really have or even start a conversation. So many people come for the first time. Some are there for seasoned. They have been, a part of it for a long time, but it brings people to the same page and they really start talking. It could be a small group or in a community level or in an organization. It can be tailored based on how everybody's going to. But these two really conversations start to get to the root of how do we make a part of making our communities very welcoming and inclusive. And that starts with some of these critical conversations also. So I'm so excited to be able to share this, so something to consider also. Thank you for allowing that, Maddie.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Savita. That was a really great overview of those programs. We'll make sure to link to Diversity Council's website in the chat as well. And you'll get all of those goodies of different links and ideas around Welcoming Week sent to your inbox shortly after this program. So it looks like there was one question in the chat that I want to make sure. It looks like there was a few answers to it, but I figure I'd bring it up anyways and open it up. Heather asked, does anyone have any event recommendations for a multifamily apartment building for Welcoming Week? Molly, it looks like you put in an idea, and then Brenda with SEMLM as well. Molly, did you want to share a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah, I just put out a couple of things that I thought are really sort of low cost and could bring folks together. And one would just be having some chalk out and having folks do some chalking of messages of welcome and nice things for the apartment building. I think other things you could do. I think we know that food brings folks together, and especially if places have like a courtyard or something, that's always a great place to have some kind of gathering. I think, depending on how folks are feeling, we know that doing some of these things outside is a good thing that we can start to do now. So I don't have any other comments on that. Just knowing that children's activities really bring families around. I know as a parent of young children, I'm all for anything that's happening in the community right now that gets me and my kids outside, right?
Yeah. And then Brenda, you also threw in the chat a few ideas. I didn't know if you wanted to speak to that as well.
I would just like to add that really any of the suggestions for small cities, you can scale those down even more to a small neighborhood event or even an apartment complex event. I love the sidewalk chalking thing. And by the way, it all washes away so that nobody's going to get excited from your city, your city public works. That's all fine. And the cleanup idea, if there's a neighborhood park nearby that is within walking distance or at least close enough that you're comfortable going over as a group to again do a cleanup, it's a dual lesson. It shows that you care about the community and your neighborhood and that you're willing to work together. So there's lots of good things to come from that. And again, your city's going to love it. They're going to think that's a fabulous thing. So, well, before folks go today, if people, what cities they came from or what organizations, I'd love that. Well, if we can maybe close with that, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, that would be, I would love if people actually could throw that in the chat. Just because we do have a variety of people on here, just don't want to worry about unmute.
Excellent.
Yeah, but yeah, that would be really great. So if you didn't have a chance to, I'm going to exit out of this so I can see everybody. Awesome. If you haven't had a chance to, please feel free to head to our southeastminnesotatogether.org website. If you could sign up for the e-newsletter, that is how you can continue to receive information around our different action areas, learn more about our organization, but specifically for today, to receive the recording of this program if you'd like to share it with colleagues. You'll have access to that 2-pager that is specifically focused on a smaller town setting and ideas around Welcoming Week that we did talk through today. And then you'll also kind of get more information, whether it's you wanted to reach out to Molly or Jenny or Fatima or Jason or myself for any other questions. Yeah, make sure to head over there. It looks like Rochester, Plainview, Northfield, Orinoco, Rochester Mayo Clinic, Austin, Rochester City Lines, Austin, Fairmont. Hey, Alex. Well, this is really great. Yeah, Julie, Winona State, Rochester. Great. Red Wing. Awesome. Well, if there's any other questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. We have about 4 minutes left. Otherwise, I won't keep you any longer if you need to continue on with the rest of your day. Looks like Fatima, did you want to say something? I want to make sure.
I have been trying to, I guess. Okay, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here today and for their interest in welcoming, and also to say there is no small task or small event that you can whatever you do, it's a big thing. It's an amazing thing. It's something, that will bring a smile to someone else's face, and that person will feel good. So whatever we can do to make other people to feel better around us is a big deal, and it's a welcoming. So I hope that people will take that to the heart and do whatever they can. Smile, make a difference, right? How about saying some positive messaging to others? So just wanted to share that there is no big things that making a difference. Those small things that we as individuals do are what make us better community and better place. Just wanted to add that. Now you can mute me. I'm gonna stop.
Thanks so much, Fatima. Great question, Kathy. Is there an internship program, a community contact to tap into a resource, a person that can connect exciting events and head up one new event? This is a good question. I guess I probably would offer up myself. As a Lead for Minnesota fellow, I get to split my time with both Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation and Owatonna and Southeast Minnesota Together. And specifically, this is the focus of my work. Southeast Minnesota Together is looking at our 11 county region in Southeast. So my hope is, if you can get on our e-newsletter, that'll continue to be a place where I can push out resources and opportunities. But we should definitely connect offline, you and I, Kathy, which it'd be great to catch up with you either ways. If anyone else has any other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, but just really appreciate you coming out today to support us and support our region in this work, and hope you have a great rest of your afternoon. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Thank you. Awesome.